expressed in the following program are those of speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? But can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
This is Running Point on ysnlive.com, and if you're watching from on-Earth, then, well, welcome to the terrestrial airways, I guess.
Yeah, let's get all this.
Alongside Ty Bartell, and once again, this is Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. They go the extra mile for you, and they're wonderful friends of ours, so make sure to check them out. Ty, we have a great Thursday episode. This week's getting away from me. Thursday episode, we have Manny Hufford, the standout for Howland softball, coming on at 12:15. And then we have one of the top-rated goalies in the state in girls lacrosse in Karley Dapolito joining us at 12:30 from Canfield Girls Lacrosse. All of that and more. We have results to talk about, some pretty surprising results to talk about from last night. Games tonight, and we're going to have some fun on this episode of Running Point.
Yeah, no doubt. It's always fun, and we were able to get some games in last night, which was pretty surprising, albeit the weather was trying to prevent it. But no, some teams found a way to play.
It was frigid cold. I'll say that, and some teams, it's interesting, Ty, because there was a lot of pushback from some players on social media that weren't playing, that thought, we're already trying to get, we're trying to dodge rain every day. Now we're not going to play because it's too cold, and it wasn't below freezing or anything. But the reality is there are some conferences that have gotten together with their board of directors and their coaches and have agreed way before this season started that below 40 degrees or below this temperature, whatever it may be, it differs, some's 40, some 42, whatever it may be. If it's below this degrees, we can't play. It's one of our mandated rules. And at the end of the day, all the principals, I believe the principals get together from each school and agreed on that. And as much as it kind of sucks when you're already dodging so much weather to begin with, I know a lot of players are frustrated. They want to play. I don't know. Do you think there's room to just say, okay, we're going to consider those as more of guidelines and actual rules, kind of like the pirate code? Or do you think it's right to just say, no matter what, even though we're dodging games, we're dodging weather, we're going to stick to our guns on this temperature rule that we have set up as a conference per se?
I mean, it's hard to say because, if you're really looking at the grand scheme of things with weather, there could be situations where it feels a lot colder than it is, and it feels warmer than what the temperature is.
Wind chill. It's not made up.
Yeah, I feel like weather is like one of those things you kind of just got to have a feel for. And I feel like coaches, they should have a discretion too if it's around that line too. Now, obviously, if it's below freezing, I'd say yes, you could shut everything down at that point. But like if it's below that 40-degree line, use coach's discretion at that point.
It's been a tough season. We see a lot of teams making playing on fields that they probably wouldn't normally play on condition wise for a regular season, but they're just trying to get games in, and they've been foregoing perfect conditions. Okay, our field's not perfect, but it's safe and playable, so let's go play. So maybe the same thing can be said about temperatures. Like, it's not perfect to go out there and play in 40-degree weather. It's going to suck. The pitching is probably going to suffer because you try to grip this softball or a baseball with really cold fingers, and you rely on how hard you can grip the ball for your spin. It might not spin as much, so pitching in the cold can be really hard, but at the same time, your backs are against the wall to get games in before tournament time.
They're trying to get as many as they can in right now, and I mean that's going to be a difficult stretch here because the tournament is rapidly approaching, especially in the softball realm. So I mean these teams are going to have to scramble to try to get as many games in as they can right now, and it seems like everything's holding them back too. And in situations like this, I feel like you got to be able to talk with the OHSAA and say either we need to have a delayed start to this tournament, or like there needs to be some leniency on these rules so we can get some games in before the tournament starts.
Or, I mean, you just go into the tournament with, hey, this is how many games we have. I mean, this is the opposite. This is like probably what OHSA would say to that argument, just trying to play both sides of the rail here. You're going to be in the tournament where you win or lose games, right? Everyone gets in. So,
but the interesting thing is everyone in the Northeast is going to be in the same boat pretty much, that especially the lower division schools. A lot of teams are going to be in the same boat with this.
There are some teams that have gotten in a few more games, but I'd say that the mean for most of the teams is right around the same.
Yeah, no doubt. I think it's going to be interesting though to see how everything's going to shake out when the tournament seedings are all in place.
Well, someone that has been very impressive this season so far for Howland, who is on an incredible tear and a win streak, is Manny Hufford from the Tigers. Manny, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today on Running Point.
Yes, thanks for having me.
I mean, Maddy, let's first and foremost just talk about this season and I mean how it shaked out. You got batting over, I think, 400 right now going into today. Just talk to me about the success that you've experienced this season and what this experience has been like for you to start.
Yeah, so it's an amazing experience. I'm really excited for how it's like going to turn out this season. I think that the team, it's really starting to like gel together, and we're all just starting to really click, and I've been having a lot of fun.
When you look at some of the things that have happened this season and the tough schedule that you guys are putting together, you play Ursuline tonight on the fly. I mean, what's it like going through night in and night out, having to play these tough teams and knowing that whether you win or lose, you're kind of really sharpening that teeth for the tournament time?
Yeah, well, you play the best to be the best. So really, I think that this is going to be a really great challenge for us, and it's just going to push us to do harder. And yeah.
What's one of the biggest things you've learned jumping to the high school level of softball now? Biggest difference that you've experienced from that middle school level to the high school level?
It's really important to like be positive 24/7 and just continuously have that like good mindset, because good teams, they're gonna take advantage if they realize that you're down. So you really just have to be ready to go every single pitch. And yeah.
You play a lot of travel ball as well. You're in the travel ball circuit and you're strong in the softball community. Talk about how much travel ball has prepared you for the high school level of softball.
Oh, it has 100% prepared me for this. I have been playing softball since I was 4, so pretty much since I can remember, and it has just prepared me 100%. Like I'm just ready to go and have really like felt like prepared for this moment. Like I've been preparing my whole life, and I feel 100% prepared.
Who are some of the older players on this team that you kind of look to for guidance if you are questioning something or if you're not sure on what to do?
I really look to two juniors, Kayla and Lexi. They're the older pitcher and catcher duo. They have really took me under their wing because they like prepare us, and like they talk to us before every game, and like we know whoever's like catching and whoever's pitching, like we all have each other's back no matter what. So
you're listed as a catcher, outfielder / first baseman, probably / everything else. You probably would be comfortable anywhere on the field. Talk about building your versatility and how important that's been in your mindset, throughout your softball career, trying to learn how to play different positions.
So learning to play different positions has been like a big thing for me. Like over the winter, I really have been working on third base, and I actually got some innings at third base the other day. And um, really, just like reps is like the biggest thing for me. I really work at that position to be the best I can in game.
Did you feel any pressure stepping into being a freshman into this varsity level of softball going into this season? Do you experience any pressure, or did you experience any pressure going into this season?
Yeah, I did actually experience like a lot of pressure coming in. But the girls, they have really like calmed me down, and like as I said, the team's really starting to gel together, and we all are just really clicking, and it has just made the experience amazing.
You got some love from Fitch's head coach down there in the comment section saying that you're a beast, and obviously you got some relationships with the Falcons over there, and they love playing against you and playing with you in the summer. Maddy, you said you love softball since you were 4. Talk about where the love of the game came from and how it's evolved since you started playing.
So it came from probably my mom. My mom, she played in college at Malone, and she put me on the field when I was 4, and ever since I've just loved it. I feel like I really got serious with it probably my last year 10U. I joined a team, Wolfpack. JB Wolf coached it, and it was an amazing experience. I still practice with most of these girls every second I get, like Morgan Muncie, Mackenzie Carr. Like I'm great friends with all those girls still to this day.
Talking about just the influx of freshman talent around here too. I mean, you talked about your relationships with Fitch players. I know you have a close relationship with Sydney Watson, Brooke
Yes.
Nitter on your team as well. 7 home runs to this point. What can you say about just all the talent that we're seeing in the freshman class in the area this year?
It's awesome. And like most of the freshmen I like know, and like Sid's one of my best friends, Brooke's one of my best friends. And it's just amazing seeing like all of us like strive and just having fun out there. It's just a really good experience. And I'm excited actually to play Sid this upcoming Monday and Tuesday. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
You know, there's got to be some friendly jabbing going on when you guys are about to play as well.
Oh, yeah.
When you look at it, what are some of your favorite memories with softball and this program that you've been in so far? I know it hasn't been long, but what have been already some favorite memories that you have with the Tigers?
Oh, one of my favorite memories was a game we played the other day. It went into extra innings, and we Zoe King, she hit a walk off, and just like we all ran out to her, and we were all just having so much fun. Like we were all jumping up and down, screaming. It was just a really great experience. And another thing we also tend to do, like after a big win, like we'll go out and get some like Katie's Corners, and we just all have a lot of fun. And we actually have a scavenger hunt that we do yearly coming up on Saturday. So I think it's going to be really fun.
Is there a bit of advice or maybe a quote or something that you've been constantly reminding yourself going into the season? You talk about the pressures that you were dealing with. Is there some advice or something like that you've gotten from a coach that you take to this season?
Yes. Dave Flickinger, my hitting coach, told me mind is the strongest muscle you have, which that basically means to me, like, just be ready and like prepare myself for like whatever's to come, and just really have fun. Because if you're not having fun, you're probably not going to perform. So just like being loose and just letting go.
We talked about the freshman success and the numbers you're putting up this year, and obviously with success comes expectations and comes pressure to succeed. And I think that's been a talking point in the softball world this week: pressures to succeed, and how we put way too much pressure on young players to get there. What have you done personally? And I know you have a great support system, you and your support system, done to not let the pressure of success kind of get to you?
So I really just like continuously like keep working and keep reminding myself like it is okay to mess up. Like it is okay to make a mistake, because I'm gonna have so many other at bats, depending if that's travel ball, high school ball, or possibly even college one day. So I think it's just really important to just have fun, really.
Looking at this season as a whole, and the short half season that you guys have been able to experience, you guys are experiencing a lot of success for sure. And talking about the success that you've experienced, what's something that you guys are trying to do to kind of stay even going into each and every game to make sure you don't let the success ride too highs and the lows ride too lows, because you've kind of been on both ends of the spectrum this season?
Yeah, so we are just like really like continuously preparing ourselves, and as I said before, we are like clicking very well, and we are just practicing together and taking every rep like 100% no matter what. That's if it's in game or if it's practice, and we are just continuously working together to better ourselves for these upcoming games.
You've been playing softball for a while. Who have been some players that you've watched growing up that you try to, you can use as role models in the game?
So I would like to say probably my mom, if I could say this. She is definitely my biggest role model there is. She played in college, as I said, and she just knows the game so well, and she knows how to prepare me for this like next game, and it's just she helps me so much.
Has she shown you any of her old tape? Have you seen your mom play?
So actually, no, I've not seen her play because she doesn't have much tape, but she's definitely told me stories about stuff, and it's just awesome.
Talking about that, and I'm sure this relationship with your mom, there's got to be talks of just the superstitions in the world of softball. There's all kinds of superstitions. Do you yourself have any particular superstitions, or have they generated from your mom, do you think, too?
I have a lot of superstitions actually. My biggest one is whenever we wear our away uniforms and we wear our orange socks, I have a hole, and I always have to put that on my left foot. Like no matter what, I just have to have it on my left foot. And then me and Brooke Tater, we actually always do the same eye black. Our go-to is we do orange on the one side and then black on the other. And yeah.
What's Manny Hufford's go-to walk-up song?
Heart of a Champion by Nelly.
Nice. Throwback.
Yes.
What's the go-to meal then for Maddy Hufford after a big win?
After a big win, my parents and grandparents always like to take me out, and we'll either go to Brothers in Vienna or UAL in Warren, and we just get wings. I always really like barbecue wings. Super
Wings
simple.
are for dingers, right?
Yep.
So going into that, you've had a couple this season. Take us through what it feels like to take that slow jog around the bases after you get a hold of one.
It feels amazing, especially in high school, because I feel like I'm really helping my team. And actually, my first home run I hit with the Tigers was actually our first game on our home field. So that was really a cool experience, like being able to jog the bases as my teammates were at home waiting for me.
I'm sure that at bat is like molded into your mind because it's your first career home run. Take us through it. Like what do you see? What did it feel like to get the hit, and what kind of progressions were you talking to yourself about?
So in my head during that at bat, I was thinking just like base hit, like as I always do. I just really try to think like relax, base hit, and it just came off the bat. She pitched me inside, and it just came off the bat, and it was just awesome.
Our buddy Chris Sigler, always active in the comment section, always active with questions too. He's asking, what is the one position you never expected to be playing in high school?
See, for me, I don't know, because I have played third and right field and caught, and I play all those positions, so I haven't really like gotten too far out of my comfort zone. So yeah.
What's one position that you haven't played that you're kind of looking at like, oh, I think I could play that. I think I could do well at that position.
Probably first base, I'd say. I think I'd be good there. The only problem is I'm short, so.
One of my final questions for you, Maddy. In the short time that you've gotten to spend with the Tigers and the Howland community, what does being a Tiger and playing for Howland and representing Howland mean to you?
To me, it means just having fun and being a good teammate. Like, I always want to be there for my teammates, being strong and just picking them up off the bench and just really trying to lead and just have fun.
Maddy, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today and talking about your first season with the Tigers. We know you're going to have success throughout your whole career. We'll talk to you again real soon.
Yeah, thank you.
Manny Hufford, the freshman with the Howland Tigers, joining us live on Running Point today. And it was a great interview, and that actually got like a lot of support. Like our comments were blowing up.
I love it. I love it. I love that the comment section blow up for our players too. It was a great interview as well too, and just talking with some of these freshmen that are in this class in this AAC. They're doing a phenomenal job. She's one of them. Her teammate Brooke Tater's one of them. With her best friend Sydney Watts, we've heard a lot of her too. So I mean, a lot of girls in this freshman class of softball. They're doing big things in the AAC.
I'm sure you'll get the chance to see one of those games next week as they play Fitch Monday and Tuesday, and that'll be a clash of a couple of really good freshman classes, obviously, in that AAC.
That'll be very exciting too in this softball team. Yeah, for sure.
So, mental note: Manny Hufford brings the ratings. Got it.
Yeah, I mean you got Brooke Tater. That's going to be fun to watch too. She's got 7 home runs on that team already to this season. 7. I mean, just hitting dingers left and right like it ain't nobody's business. She's tearing it up too, and just a freshman. It's going to be a fun conference to watch for years to come.
When you add that to Alexis Spengler, who's a veteran, I think she's a junior this year. And you add that to Zoe King, who's been doing really good things as well. This this Howland team is right on the cusp of right on that water. I think they're 9-3 right now. They play Ursuline tonight, a big chance to make some noise. And when you talk about those power rankings and we talk about teams that are on the outside looking in, the Tigers are right there.
Yeah, they are definitely a good team right now, and I feel like I want to say they have an 8-3 record right now that they're sporting, and I mean, it's a good team right now in that AAC, and they might be one of the ones that are contending for Fitch right now for that top spot.
They are coming off of a walk-off their last game against Ordonia in their pink game. That was Sunday, and like I said, they are scheduled to host Ursuline tonight. It was kind of a game on the fly. They were scheduled to host Poland. Poland has to make up a league game, so that game got nixed. And Howland called up the Irish and said, "Hey, you want to come to town?" And they're gonna play Ursuline tonight.
You think this is a game too? Just looking at our power rankings, and we talked about Howland outside looking in.
Oh yeah.
Do you think this is a game that
absolutely? Ursuline's what 2 right now, 3 right now.
2 or 3
branches 2. But yeah, so that's definitely an opportunity. That's definitely an opportunity for Howland, and they have a lot of opportunities left because they still have Boardman twice, I believe, Fitch twice. So they have a lot of opportunities to make themselves heard, not just in the power rankings, but in the AAC and in the area of softball.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, when conference play has to conclude, it's going to tell a lot of things as far as where these teams should be ranked and where these teams are going to be ranked. I think a lot of big games coming up, though, for the Tigers in the softball realm.
Let's get to a couple of results from last night. And Ty, there were some really surprising scores. I wasn't surprised that Columbiana softball won the game because it was a toss-up. It was 50-50 Columbiana versus United. What I was surprised about was the way they did it and how much they absolutely dominated this game. 21 hits as a team for the Clippers in their big, big statement victory over the Eagles of United in Hanoverton.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a huge win for Columbiana, and you think that's going to go a long way, too, for the power rankings. I think a lot of people just got some eyes on Columbiana now after that big win over number 10 United.
I think Columbiana got an eye on that list and said, wait a minute, whoa. Slow down.
Whoa. Yeah, they made sure they emphatically made their presence felt, and that's going to be, I think, paying a lot of dividends.
I'll tell you, that is not the first time we've seen a team get left off of the rankings and not feel good about it and then go out and get a big win like the next night. I mean, you're welcome. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, no doubt.
If they're motivating you to win, you're welcome. No, but talk about impressive freshmen, and we talked to Maddy today, and we've brought up Cindy Watts multiple times. Caitlin Pleska, freshman, 5 for 5 last night. and was one of the dominating parts of that lineup for Columbiana. Also gets plenty of time. Ooh, almost knocked over my mic. Also gets plenty of time in the circle for the Clippers as well. I mean, freshman, all over the place.
They're doing big things too, and Columbiana gets a big win in the conference too, and I think that's going to do a lot as far as separating themselves from the rest of the pack and trying to grab that conference crown to start the season.
Now they will play again, and it will be a continuation of a game where Columbiana is up 4-0, and that'll be at Columbiana. So that game got, I believe, 2 innings in. Most games got 2 innings in. On Monday, and it's 4-0 Columbiana with the lead, and so that'll see if United can come back and try to split that season series.
Yeah, I mean, and it's just unfortunate so many games. If there's one thing I dislike, it's the suspended games. I hate starting games with scores already in place. Like I hate that. If we start a game, I like finishing games, but
I'm sure though, Ty, you would be just as upset if they're like, "Hey, Columbiana, you worked and you went up 4-0, but you know what? That means nothing. We're gonna start back at 0-0."
Yeah, it's unfortunate because when you start games, you want to finish them. It's just you hate having to suspend games.
I get it. There's so much pressure to get games in, but like Monday, I'm not calling anyone out. So this is because I get it. But Monday, you had to look at that forecast and be like, "Are we really gonna get 7 innings in right now?" I mean, it's supposed to thunderstorm at 5:30. Like, I get you tried, you were there, you went for it, but there were some teams that didn't even like. If you're gonna do, I feel like you should have pushed back the start to 4:30, 4:15, something like that. And it's been like, hey, we're gonna try to get at least 5 innings in because that's a complete game. You can end the game and be official after 5. So, I don't know. It's tough. It's tough when you start at 5 and the rain's supposed to come at 5:30.
Yeah,
Your backs are against the wall.
If you go 4 o'clock start time, you might be able to get 5 innings in then. But
right, and I know that's hard because that means you have to.
Yeah,
if there's travel, you have to get out of school early. You have to get your buses there. You probably want to get to the field.
It's not a good
to
situation any way you look at it. And that's kind of what we've determined with baseball, softball. There's really no right answer to any of it. It's just you got to take the weather for what it is, say this stinks, and we just got to work with what we got here.
And I guess, okay, you got 2 innings in, then that means you don't have to play a full 7 next time. Maybe you can squeeze a doubleheader in if you had to do that. So I guess there is some benefits to getting a little bit of the game in, but it just sucks to have a 4-0 deficit when you show up at the field. It's like, oh, we have to start this game in the second. We're down 4-0.
Yeah,
got to get your groove back.
It's just you got to really hope that well, that's just the thing.
It also stinks for the other team. Like we had momentum and it's gone.
I don't think, and I don't think OHSAA is going to postpone the season. I don't know if they start of the.
There's no way. Like I would.
We fancied the idea of it. Like I know, but I don't think that they will. But it's even if they gave them that one more Saturday, like we said, and just to get 2 games in, just a double header, just like 2 more quick opponents. I think would pay a lot of these teams, or do a lot of these teams justice, I think, as far as going into the tournament and giving a little bit more preparation.
I would be utterly shocked if the OHSA moved back their tournament. Like that would just.
When is the official start date? Do you know the official start date?
Is May 7th, which is that Saturday. Which means the draw should be. I mean, we're sitting on April 28th. They should start seeding very, very soon because the sectional tournament starts the 7th.
So technically, this upcoming Saturday is the last Saturday,
right,
for softball to get double headers in. And unless you do something wild on Friday where you could try to get 2 in before it gets dark, that's the only other option these softball teams really have.
Yeah, it's sneaking up on us real quick. I mean, next week is supposed to be the last week of the regular season.
Yeah, and it's going to make things certainly difficult to get in. But we'll take a pause on the softball realm, and it's time to go into what you call LAX.
I don't call that's the abbreviation.
The X symbol is what you like giving, the LAX symbol. Lacrosse and Karley Dapolito from Canfield. Bring her into this one and bring this up as well. Got to change this color though. Can't be
Yeah, I
that.
got to make that red, right?
Can't make that. Yeah. We're getting it. We're getting it all set for her. Here we go.
All right.
There you go,
Karley,
Andy.
thank you so much for taking the time to join us today on Running Point.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Karley, I guess the first and foremost thing to ask, the sport of lacrosse is getting so much more traction nowadays, more than I think it has in recent years too. Talk to me about your journey with lacrosse and where you first found yourself falling in love with the sport and found yourself playing the sport.
I started out in 6th grade. My brother started playing before me, and all my friends wanted to join, so we all just joined the first team we ever had at Canfield.
When you look at it, I mean, because it's not huge yet in the area, there aren't a lot of teams that have it. You have to travel a lot to get some of these games in. What's that kind of been like going an hour away, hour and a half away to get games in, and then getting big victories against these big teams that are up in the Akron, Canton, and Cleveland area?
I mean, sometimes it's kind of tough, taking the hour-long bus ride all the way up to Cleveland and then having to come back home and do it again the next day. But it's kind of great to see that we could beat those bigger schools up north Cleveland.
Talking about lacrosse as a sport too, and the traction that it's been able to garner as of late. Talk to me about some of the gray areas of the sport that a lot of people don't know about it, or maybe some misconceptions about the sport of lacrosse that people usually have going into viewing it for the first time.
Not a lot of people know about lacrosse, especially around here. So we don't really get like a fan base at our games. And people at school don't really know a lot about lacrosse or maybe the rules about it or exactly what the sport is.
This team's undefeated, so I want you to talk about the personality of the team and what it's like being a part of this team and these girls, and what makes their connection and their chemistry so special.
Oh, it's great being a part of this team. We've been playing together since we were in 6th grade together. So it's been about 7 seasons together. So we just have a great bond. Like the defense, we don't even have to talk sometimes. We just know where the other person's going to be. And on the offensive end of the field, they're able just to know where the cutters are immediately since we've been playing together so long.
Having a save percentage over 500, over 50% is pretty impressive too. Talk to me about how much pride you have going into, or you have taking into saves in your career.
Oh, I think it's great just being able to play at that level. Sometimes, it's nerve-wracking, but I always just feel that it's like my job to stop the ball so I can help my teammates out. Since we're a team, we work together. And at the end of the day, I just want to stop the ball, help my teammates out.
You were tabbed as one of the highest ranked goalies in the state this year right now. I mean, obviously the stats that Ty brought up are impressive enough, but we also know that to be a goalie, it takes a certain mindset. You can't just throw anyone back there and be a goalie. It takes a kind of a special kind of unique mindset. How have you developed yourself as a goalie throughout your career?
I think just playing it how long I have been playing, it's just I've gotten used to the mindset. You just have to, once you let a ball in, you can't let it stop you. You have to continue playing the game and just focus on the task at hand, stopping the ball.
What's some of the best advice you've received from a coach in your playing career?
I have a lot of great coaches, and they always just tell me that it's not just up to me. So if I let a ball in, I can't let it get to me, and I have to just keep going, because at the end of the day, if I get upset about letting one goal, that's just going to make it harder to stop the next one. That's what my coaches normally tell me.
When you look at some of the things that you've had to grow in your career, what do you think the biggest difference is between you at the start of your career and you as you are right now?
I mean, I've definitely grown a lot. I know a lot more about the sport, and I'm definitely better than when I started in 6th grade.
Looking at this as a whole too, who have been some of your biggest role models in the sport? Has there been anyone or any players that you've maybe looked up to, or has there been any other role models that you've just kind of looked to for support when you need that going into a big game?
I mean, I don't really have one specific role model. I really like to watch the college goalies on TV and just see how they play and how they play together. But I think my biggest inspiration going into a game is just my teammates. We all want to win together. So that just really helps me out during a game.
We have a question in the comments section for you. James Bartel wants to know, what sport would you closely compare lacrosse to as far as the play and the defensive setup?
I feel lacrosse is always compared to basketball or soccer. There's really nothing like similar, I would say. It's like hard to compare it to a different sport.
When you look at this sport and you talk about the teammates too, and how close you are with all your teammates, do you find yourself mentoring any of the other teammates, or do you find any of your other teammates coming to you for advice? And what do you kind of do in that kind of mentorship role?
Oh, definitely. We have 2 younger goalies on the team, so I always like to mentor them because once I leave after this season, it's going to be their job to step up and take my spot. So I just want to help them out so they're ready to take the varsity spot when I leave.
Talk about this coaching staff and what it's been like to be under them, and what they've helped you grow in, not just as a lacrosse player, but as a person as well.
We have some great coaches. Coach Guerreri, she really helps on the goalie and defensive end. Her daughter played goalie, so she knows a lot about it. And Coach G is just always trying to help us out on defense. And then we also have Coach Ashlyn out here helping attack. She's just all over the field. Our coaches are just like a really positive thing for us. They always encourage us to play to our best and to win the game.
What is the most exciting win that you experienced in your career?
Mooney was a pretty big one last night. We really wanted to beat them. I think a lot of our wins are exciting. I can't pick a specific game. Our Orange game, that was pretty good. I had a shutout. So basically any game when I don't let in a lot of shots, we think that's a big win.
What do you do to kind of hype yourself up for a game? Is there a playlist that you listen to, or are you someone that has other ways to get yourself hyped up and ready for a game on the way? Maybe on those hour-long bus rides that you guys take so many of.
On the hour-long bus ride, we normally just play music, and that normally gets me hyped up. But on the sidelines, I think, is where it really happens with my teammates when we're breaking before the game and when we're running out before that first draw. We really get hyped then.
Being the goalie and being the position that you played, do you have any superstitions going into games that if you don't follow, something might not go right in the game?
Yeah, I definitely do. I always wear the same headband. And then when I first get on the field, me and my other defender, Riley, we kind of run up to each other and like shoulder bump. And then when I get into the crease, I always hit the left post, then the right post, then the left post, and then I'm good to go.
Got to be that pattern. When you look at some of the things that you want to do in your future goals and when you graduate out of Canfield, what are your future goals and your future plans in life?
I think for now, I'm just going to be focusing on school. I'm going to Kent in the fall. I don't really know what's down the road for me.
Looking at lacrosse as a sport too, and just talking about your teammates, what's one of the goofiest things that your teammates have done, or one of those fun memories that just comes up in your head with your experience playing lacrosse for Canfield?
My teammates are definitely always goofy all the time. Last year, we did have a pretty goofy game. It was pouring rain, and at the end of the game, they said that if I stopped the last ball, they were all going to just fall on the ground. So they did that.
When obviously you're a student athlete and student comes first, so what have been some of your favorite classes that you've taken in Canfield, and who are some of the teachers in the school system that have really impacted your journey?
I really enjoy taking all the art classes, but I think one of the biggest impacts, I had Mrs. Angelo for science, and she's just such a positive teacher, always encouraging you to do what you can and do your best. So I think her probably.
What has the sport of lacrosse taught you across life too? Just talking about like some of those similarities too. What have you taken from the sport of lacrosse and applied to your day-to-day life?
I think probably just focusing on what's ahead. You can't look back on the things that happened. So when I let in a ball, it's just like in life when something like bad happens, you got to just keep going and focus on what's ahead for you.
You know, obviously you've been a successful goalie and you've been a successful goalie for your career, and with success comes that pressure to keep succeeding. How do you handle the external pressure and some of the, the stress that comes with being an athlete at this level and succeeding as much as you do?
It's definitely stressful. When I first found out that I was ranked in the state, everybody, like my teammates, were really hyping me up about it. And they told like the teachers knew and they put it on the announcements and just everybody found out. I think that's definitely stressful going into each game and trying to hold up to that standard of being like ranked in the state and keeping my stats as high as they are.
As Anthony said, we are live, and our buddy Chris Sigler always likes to tune in with questions of his own, too. How does it feel that the sport of lacrosse is drawing more and more attention, including being broadcast live last night?
It's great. We really were excited that we were broadcasted last night, finally getting some of the attention in the area. I know some of the bigger schools up towards Cleveland that we end up playing, they always have attention. But it's finally great that we get like recognition that we deserve since, we're doing such a great job this season. So we really enjoy having like the news and different broadcasts with us.
And I know as a follow-up, there are more and more schools that are getting lacrosse teams. I mean, as you look at it as just a lacrosse fan, I mean, forget the fact that you're a player for Canfield, but this, as someone that wants to see the sport grow, how thrilling is it to look around and see more and more local schools kind of pick up the sport?
It's really exciting. I'm hoping that further down the line when I'm far graduated, I could come back and see that there's so many other teams playing around here. I think that would be great. So then maybe Canfield doesn't have to travel, the hour and a half to play teams. They could play teams around here.
All right, Karley. Oh, sorry.
No, you got it. You got it, Ty.
What we always like to do too, as well with the sports, with all of our sport athletes too, all of our athletes that come on, we like to give them a chance to kind of thank the support system that they do have, the support system that is there with them throughout the years that show up to the games, and just the people that have been there for you throughout your entire career.
Oh, I definitely want to thank my family for always showing up to the games. My brother for like helping me out starting lacrosse and shooting balls at me so I could train. Definitely my teammates my teammates aren't just like my teammates. They're like my sisters, my family. And then definitely my coaches just for all the positive they give to us, helping us out before the games.
Karley, thank you so much for taking the time to join us and giving our first interview with Canfield Lacrosse. We look forward to the continued success of the program, and we know that we'll talk to you again real soon.
Thank you.
It's Karley Dapolito, the top-ranked goalie in the state from Canfield Girls Lacrosse, and they are 10-0-1 on the year. They got the win last night over Cardinal Mooney, and that was broadcasted live on ysnlive.com. Also, Anthony Romo did a bunch of post-game interviews with both Cardinal Mooney's boys lacrosse, who got the win on the boys' side, and then Canfield Girls Lacrosse. You can find those on our Twitter at ysnlive.com, and pretty soon you'll be able to find them on our YouTube page as well.
Yeah, I was going to mention there was a split on the boys and girls side between the Cardinal battle on the lacrosse teams, but really Canfield on the girls side flexed their muscles and flexed them hard, and they proved why they're one of the best, and we're rooting for them too to bring home some more hardware to the YSN family.
This is not the first time we've talked about Canfield Lacrosse. I mean, they've been lighting the world on fire, and they're taking those road trips out to really big teams. And they're not just winning those games. I mean, you look at these scores, 15-0, 14-2. I mean, they're just dominating these teams that they're going out and playing. I mean, I think they beat Orange 14-2. So you go all the way to Orange, which is in the Cleveland suburbs, and you take it to them like that. I mean, talk about making the road trip worth it.
Yeah, no doubt, as those were two of the big scores in the sports realm last night that did get off too. Lacrosse did get off too, as well as the baseball, softball scores that we were recapping. But yeah, Cardinal Mooney takes it on the boys' side, but Canfield takes it on the girls' side in the two lacrosse scores of last night.
Let's get back to this really quick, getting over the last couple of baseball and softball scores that we didn't get to from last night. And we talked about Columbiana softball getting the win over United. But on the baseball side of things, the Eagles turned the tables and handed Columbiana their first loss of the season, as the Eagles get the win at home against Columbiana, not on the road.
Yeah, wild that they came out on top, but look at that too. Columbiana suffering their first loss, and it just proves that anyone's beatable in this area.
Final score there was 4-1. United gets the win. We have Salem baseball getting the win over Alliance, and that was emphatic 10-0 in 6 innings. Just in more domination in the EBC from Quaker baseball. ninth straight victory for the Quakers. They're on a tear after that struggle start to the season, and we all knew that they would kind of fix things, right? When we were sitting there with them, I think they were 1-3, and they lost that game to Canton South, and we were like, wait a minute, Salem's fine. Like let's relax a little bit, and here they are on a 9-game tear.
Yeah, 8-7 on the softball realm against Carrollton. That's an impressive win for Salem, and they're figuring things out. Baseball side's figuring things out. Like we said, just don't flake on the Quakes. You gotta give them a second too. They figured things out, and they're
I
operating.
like that. Don't flake on the Quakes. You brought up that Salem score, 8-7. They get the win over Carrollton to move their win streak, to continue their win streak, I should say. And the seniors of this team really shine. Riley Troy did good in the circle and hit well. Jenna McClish had 2 for 2 with 2 RBIs and 2 walks. Riley Troy was 5 for 5 with a triple. 5 for 5. You can't do better, right? That's perfection at the plate. So then you add the fact that Max Zumbar and Chase Toy each had 3 hits and 2 RBI. Bella Brandt singled and doubled. You can go down the list, and you can go to ysnlive.com to find the whole recap. But I mean, a lot of contributions from this Salem lineup, and they're on a big win streak, just like the boys are.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, they're looking tough to beat as of now too, and getting hot at the right time just before tournament time. Salem softball operating in full stride right now.
Waterloo softball, they kept the struggles of Middle Ridge going, because Waterloo got the 13-3 win over the Rams, and Mackenzie Kerr hit her second home run of the season. She also had a double and 4 RBI. So, she was someone that got brought to my attention last year on the All-Star game. It's crazy. I've told this story before. I'm not going to retell the whole story, but there's like this sense of pride when I talk about Mackenzie Kerr, because you get a chance to just, I use coach very loosely. I gave her one piece of hitting advice in the dugout for one game. But so when I see the success of players like that, though, I go, oh man, like, let's go. And she's rolling 2 home runs now in the year, 4 RBIs last night, and Waterloo gets the 13-3 win over Middle Ridge to move to 3-3 in the MVAC.
It's going to be interesting to see how this conference shakes up, because Jackson Milton really got a couple of huge wins on the
Middle Ridge
too. So this conference on the Scarlet side is going to be pretty wide open. Who's the leader right now?
It's Springfield.
Is it Springfield right now? I think they have one loss.
Yeah.
1 loss.
They almost lost to Waterloo, but they came back and won 10-9. We'll have to wait for the second matchup between those two teams.
It'll be interesting, and we've already seen in the softball realm teams can drop a game or two here and there. So Springfield trying to hold on.
No one is dominant. I think that's been very well established this year. Even Fitch has shown some chinks in their armor, albeit against really good competition down there in Myrtle Beach. But I think it's been proven that with, you could establish it with the stop and go of the weather. You could establish it just with the widespread amount of talent, or you could say it's both. But for whatever reason this year, there's just not that unbelievably dominant team that, night in and night out has a 99.9% chance of winning. Like, we've had that the last couple of years. Like, we kind of knew going into every game, hey, this team was probably going to win. But this year, it's just not that cut and dry.
Yeah, and in baseball, softball realm, it's such a hard thing to predict, because you could take the best team in the country and put them up against any team 100 times, and there's probably a chance they're losing one of those games out of 100 times every single time, because it's just the sport of baseball, softball. You could be the best team in the nation and have the worst night at the worst timing, and it all falls apart in one game.
That's
that's softball. Baseball.
One and done tournament
makes it so interesting.
It's frustrating, but it's also like exciting, because it's like, man, this team is you could say easily this team is the best team in the district, but that one bad night, it's like, oh, and that can happen in basketball and volleyball and football. You can have one bad night, but I think it's a lot easier to upset somebody in baseball, softball than it is definitely is in volleyball and football. It's a little bit easier in basketball, but I still think I think baseball, softball is the easiest to see those upsets because the sport itself is so fickle.
I think it's easier to consistently shoot a basketball. It's easier to shoot a basketball consistently or throw a football consistently than it is to pitch a baseball or a softball consistently.
Right.
And that's the biggest, I think, factor that separates those sports, is just that.
Or on the flip side, to hit a baseball or softball consistently,
yeah, that's even on the flip side is even more difficult to do.
And then I'll always say this: I think volleyball is the hardest sport to upset somebody because you can't just be better than them in one set. Like, you have to thoroughly be the better team that night in 3 sets, and you just don't see that too often, where a team comes in as a huge underdog and just says, "We're better tonight for 3 straight sets, 25 points every set," and that's just really hard to see. You don't see it too often.
Yeah, and I mean, it's going to be interesting with the with volleyball coming up too. You mentioned that.
It's coming.
I think around the corner.
I saw Fitch had their first open gym last night with their seniors, and I was like, "Oh, here we go!" It's coming.
We'll be talking that before you know. No, Anthony, you're like me with basketball. With your softball, you're gonna hold on to it till the last second. So I mean, we won't talk volleyball. So after that, even though I know you are a volleyball guy too, I know you love your volleyball.
Something that I do want to bring up from basketball season that was announced today, or it was given today. West Branch was given an Academic Ohio Award for their girls basketball team, which notices them as one of the top 5 academic girls basketball teams in the whole state of Ohio. So that's an amazing feat, because we know that balancing sports and school is hard, and to do it better than everyone except 5 teams in the state, in the whole state of Ohio, all across all divisions, that is very impressive, and the hard work is paying off for West Branch, and they don't just do it on the court, they obviously do it in the classroom as well. So congratulations to that program for receiving that honor, and we know a lot of hard work went into it.
Yeah, no doubt. And we always want to wish our biggest congratulations to any of our award getters.
Almost another reason to get Coach DeShields on the show, right?
Yeah, just
let's talk about it.
Please,
we miss you, Walt. We miss you. We'll talk to you next basketball season for sure. Let's take our first break of the day. We'll be back with more fun on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
When looking for home design inspiration, don't just be inspired, be Baird inspired. Whether new or remodeling, Baird Brothers has the latest trends like shiplap to refresh your home. Go from inspiration to installation with our wide selection of in-stock American hardwoods. From the rustic charm of antique oak to the warmth of traditional cherry, Baird Brothers has what you need to make your home inspiring. Baird Brothers, our family's heritage, your family's home.
For a great vehicle and a great experience, come to Boardman Mitsubishi today. As always, our full lineup of Mitsubishi models comes with a standard 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty. Boardman Mitsubishi, your hometown Mitsubishi dealer since 1999.
Coca's Pizza, always supporting our community and our local athletes. Stop in on game day or score big and have it delivered right to your door. Check out our daily specials at cocaspizza.com. That's Coca's Pizza, we serve it hot.
At Hubbard Chevrolet, Hubbard can help you get the financing you need, regardless of your situation. I'm Tony Page, and I've helped thousands of customers in Northeast Ohio and Western Pennsylvania buy a vehicle. Visit HubbardChevy.com to get pre-approved. Remember, folks, Hubbard can help.
You're not waiting to see what the world has in store for you. It's more about what you have in store for the world. All you need is the opportunity. All you need are the resources of a large university and the advantages of a personalized academic setting. where you can experience new worlds in the arts and sciences, business, and education, and make them your own. We are where you shape your future. We are Youngstown State University, and proud.
On ysnlive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. While we were on the commercial break, we got this comment from DJ Oakley, and it's a valid point. Like, you can't in other sports, and I think he's bringing up football, because you can't you run away from the best defender. We saw teams run away from Christian Colosimo. We saw teams try to run away from really good defenders and just run the opposite direction and say, hey, that guy on defense, we're not even going to touch him. And you can't do that in baseball and softball, other than like intentionally walking a guy or a girl. But what I think the point is, when you're talking about what sport is the easiest to get an upset in, I think sometimes you don't have to go around the best player, right? Because even the best players in baseball and softball, you can elevate the average a little bit, but the best players still get out 60% of the time, right? Like, so sometimes you don't have to avoid the best player. You can pitch to them, and even though they're really good, sometimes they get under a ball and they pop it up to the infield, or they get under the ball, they pop it out to the outfield, and you just go, okay, we got around that hitter. Right.
Yeah.
So I think that happens a lot in baseball and softball. Even the best pitchers have that day where all of a sudden their pitch command isn't there. Right. So I think it's just easier to upset teams in baseball, softball, but it's up for debate.
It is tough to steer away in sports. Did you see the follow-up comment from DJ?
What's this one say?
All sports, that includes volleyball, with a winking face. And good high school hitters in softball are not hitting 300. Correct. That is fact.
No, that's why I said 60% instead of 70.
Yeah.
Good high school hitters in softball, you see 400s. You see a couple of 500s in high school softball, especially this year with the games being limited a little bit. Right now, I was doing South Range on Tuesday, and I was looking at their lineup stats, and it was like 3 girls hitting in the 500s, 4 more hitting in the 400s, and almost everyone hitting at least 300. So it was like, woo, this lineup is hard to pitch to. But even if you're hitting 500, that means half the time you're getting out.
True. I mean, it is true. I think that it is. I feel like
all you need is for one day as a team that is the underdog, one day to be that 50% where that kid gets out.
And it could happen.
Look, when South Range made that tournament run to win a state championship in baseball, they were the underdog through the regionals, right? They just went and they did it. Like,
I agree with you that a one-game tournament style does really open up the playing field, so even the best of the best teams can be beat then in that style. Right. Because I feel like when you play those 7-game series, you really do find out which team is the better team. Then you have to win 4 games against that team, and then you really get a good
That's
game.
Why my argument goes back to volleyball. You have to win 3 sets, and they're all the 25. So you have to be the better team that night, hands down.
It's hard to say, though, because the sets are back to back to back. It's not like, at least like, I don't know, because it's still like all within the span of a game. It all matters in one game.
Momentum matters in volleyball a lot, and you can see a team gonna lose that edge after they lose one set.
To a test, I did see Fitch come back on Aurora down from 0-2. They did come back 3 straight sets after winning it. I don't know. It's a hard thing to really gauge. I will say, and I will make that argument, that in the sport of baseball, softball, I think that one game playoff does open up the playing field more than any other sport really does too. Because basketball, one game you're usually getting one. Oh, here comes
here he comes.
He's rubbing his hands. He has an argument ready in store. Are you ready for it, Ann?
Oh, he's got the Steelers jersey on. He's ready for draft day too.
He's ready. Oh yeah, it is big for that too. What's up?
I am ready for draft day. So Anthony, explain to me how 300, 400, like kids are hitting 500, 600 in high school, and that's how they're being recruited to play at the next level.
Yeah, so even if you're hitting 500, that's 50% of the time you're getting out, right? So all you need to do is be that one game where they go 1 for 4.
Glass half full is 1 out of 2 times you're getting on base.
Right.
You give me any
I know,
baseball
but I'm
softball
saying
coach, they're signing up for that.
for football players, if you have to run away from, like, if you are running into this linebacker, he's not hitting you 50% of the time. He's tackling you 95% of the time, right?
No. What statistic? Where did that come from?
I feel like really good hitters and really good linebackers are like, if you have a really good linebacker and you have to consistently run at him, you, like your point, you can run away from him. But if you have to run at him, he'll probably get your tackle. He'll probably tackle you a lot more than a baseball's best hitter will get a big hit on you.
Okay,
The
so
percentage is probably higher.
okay, so what's the percentage of a good hit in volleyball?
Oh, a good hitting percentage for an individual player, probably 300.
The bishop's in position.
Right.
So 300. So
But
7
hitting
times
percentage
out of 10.
is not just how many times you get a kill. It's
oh, here it comes.
Kills minus errors over total hits.
Okay.
Can we get some softball and volleyball players in the comments section?
Yeah, let's go.
I'm saying. I mean, like here's what I hate about and listen, we're not putting one sport. I guess we are putting one sport against another, but I hate when people talk about baseball and softball and say, well, the best players in baseball fail, 7 times out of 10. That's at the professional level. Like, those are Hall of Fame people playing the best baseball players and softball players on the planet Earth, right? High school players should not strive for 300. Like, that's not good. 500 is what you want to strive for in high school. If you're looking to utilize that, and that's what I think coaches are so crazy, like, pull their hair out like mine, because they've got so accustomed to hearing these, 300's a good average. Not in high school. And all these kids want to play Division I and say that they're marketable as a Division I athlete batting 250. That's not feasible. Like, no coach, obviously from a standpoint, they're going to ask you what your grades are first. But then when you follow that up with, I bat 250 and I'm batting 8th, I'm sorry, the coaches aren't going to sit there and drool over you. So like, level up a little bit. And I thought it was interesting. You brought the whole conversation in, Ant. Whenever it comes to different sports, baseball's always, and it always will be, kind of relegated to failure. Like, you're going to fail more than you're going to succeed. But in the high school levels, and even in like Little League, like, if you're shooting for 300, if you're failing 7 times out of 10, maybe take up soccer or another sport or something, because like, you're not going to climb the level batting 300 all the way up all the way up to varsity. And you're certainly probably, I know that was a contradiction there, you're probably not going to play at the college level batting 250 to 300.
All right, so back to the original point of the discussion, though. Do you think that baseball, softball is the easiest sport to see an upset in a 1-game tournament?
No. But again, back to why I chimed in, you can't run away from the 3 and 4 hitters, right? You're putting 2 guys on base or 2 girls on base if you're running away from the best hitters in the lineup. Whereas in volleyball, to your point, in football, yeah, you can run away from the linebacker, but you can also play the other side. So if your best player is 6'4" at the front line, you can get away from her pretty easily as long as you have a strategy together. It's the same thing in football. It's the same thing as long as it's a team sport. I think that it's really interesting to me. Andrew saying Mohawk versus Champion at 5:30. We're there, baby. Don't you worry.
It's gonna be a big one.
It's really hard to just tell a volleyball team, hey, we're gonna move our whole offense over to the left. If we're not passing well or if we're not setting well, then you really can't.
Tell me you haven't seen that.
Seen what? Oh, them go away from like a blocker?
Yep.
Yeah, I've seen them try. You try to do it, but like, success factor is not high.
Really?
Yeah. That's why you see that's why a lot of our teams can't get out of districts in volleyball, because they run into really good teams and it's really hard to just be better.
Teams.
It's really hard to be better.
1 through 6 or however many are on a volleyball court, right?
Right.
But when you've got one player that's a standout, right? Like for basketball, if you're playing LeBron James and 4 Joe Blows, right? You're going to double up LeBron James and let the 4 Joe Blows beat you, right? That's basketball. You cannot do that in baseball and softball. It is essentially, it's one-on-one all game long. It's pitcher versus hitter from that standpoint. And as a catcher, I'll throw in the catcher too, but for argument's sake, it's pitcher versus hitter. It's strategy. You can put your defense wherever you want. You can shift them, you can not shift them, whatever. But it's one-on-one, mano-a-mano the whole way. And if you're going to walk the 3 and 4 hitters because they're the best hitters in your lineup, yes, you're essentially doing the same thing that you would if you were walking, going away from a good blocker in volleyball. But the detriment is much higher in baseball and softball because you're putting those runners on base in a chance to score. You see what I'm saying?
I think the interesting part too with like high school sports is like, I don't know what other sports other than like baseball, softball, where you see it where the numbers are inflated and aren't like really mirrored. Cause you still see like in basketball, right? 25, 30 points per game in basketball at the high school level. You're still getting recruited. You're getting looked at. You're getting brought in. Same thing with like a football in a 10-game season. You throw 20 touchdowns, 25 touchdowns. You're going to get looked at for that too. But is there any other sports that you can think of off the top of your head? Because I don't know if I can, other than like baseball, softball, where the numbers are they almost have to be inflated at the high school level, and they're not mirrored in what you see at the professional level as considered good or quality.
All right, wrap this up for me. Explain it to me like I'm a 5-year-old at a lemonade.
I'll get it for you. Okay, so in a sense, is there any other sport other than baseball where you see that you need to have numbers that are way higher than what we see at the professional level? Like, for instance, 25 points at the professional level of basketball is considered good.
I see. Okay.
It's considered good at the high school level too, where like batting average, like you said, 500 in high school as opposed to 300 at pros. I don't know if there's any other sport other than baseball, softball where we see that.
I know we're going off the beaten path, but probably golf. Like
maybe golf. That is a good
even
point.
But even in golf, like, again, your scores are what they are. Because you're going to be hitting from the whites in college or you're just going to back it up a little bit. That's a very interesting question. I guess I've never really thought about that because I was a baseball player, and the expectations are you better hit higher in high school. Just like you better hit higher in Little League than you do when you get to Pony League, because the statistical anomaly must go down. There's kids hitting 900 in Little League. And then they go on to Pony League and they bat 700. And then they go to it should go down as the competition goes up. But I never really thought about that.
I think another good point to bring up too in the majors that we don't. I mean, at least in the baseball side, when you're using a wood bat as opposed to the aluminum composite bats too, they do go a longer way too. So you expect a higher batting average too. I think in the lower levels too, just because. Let's be honest too. Like with wooden bats too, you need to have a little bit more power too, and it requires a little bit more, I think, power on the swingers. And the bat doesn't do as much of the work too. Not saying it does a whole lot of heavy lifting. You still need to square it up in the high school level.
The whole idea behind the bat is an aluminum bat used to, not even so much anymore. It used to have a bigger sweet spot, right? So the sweet spot typically would have been on a TPX. Like I had a Gen 1X model whenever I was in high school, and I could tell you where the sweet spot was, and I would always try to barrel it up in that sweet spot because you're getting the most, reaction from the bat. But what they'll tell you now is some of these bats that these kids have to swing, you're better off with a wooden bat. That's why you see some of these kids in Little League and Pony League swinging wood, not because they want to be like the pros, but because now the bat has a bigger sweet spot from a wood standpoint than you did metal. So it's not that a wood an aluminum bat ever gave you more pop, so to speak. There was less room for error. So you weren't having missed swings and bad contact, so to speak. So and I'm not saying that aluminum doesn't hit further than wood, but I'm also saying that it was more forgiving. And that's why you see these older kids are using wood as well, because they do want to get a better look at when a scout comes to their game or when a scout is reviewing their footage, they want to see what kind of barrel they're putting on the ball at any given time and any given at bat. And obviously if you're going through if you got a bunch of firewood, so to speak, the scout or whoever is going to tell real quick that you are putting poor swings on the baseball and you're getting jammed a ton, which is why they're breaking bats. So
I wonder if a scout looks at those players that utilize the wood in high school too, and that gets them a little bit extra looks too, as far as like for the next level too, or like a respect factor for using wood in the high school level,
I think, and I don't know this for a fact, but I've heard, from different people and great baseball minds that a scout knows what you're going to do, whether you can make contact or not. The way you swing the bat, they can teach you how to make contact, right? But they can't teach you. And a lot of times some of the best baseball minds and guys that are teaching you, pitching and hitting, they can't really take your swing, chop it down, and then build it back up. You either have it or you don't. It's muscle memory, all that stuff. You've got the length, you've got the barrel, you've got the bat speed, things of that nature. That's why Brady Shannon is such a freak, because all of his metrics on his swing are ridiculous, and it's raw talent. It's when he puts it together, you can see why he is so highly touted and going to UCF, is because he's got all the things, the it factor, right? And not every D1 baseball player has it. Not every D3 baseball player, you name it. Not everybody has it. But when you look at it, when Brady makes contact, he can hit the ball 450 feet and not bat an eye, because he's got all the things to put together.
Speaking of good swings, break down that home run you saw from Brandon Popio the other night too, because your call. I listened to it too. It was a great call. I want you to break it down.
Less of a breakdown and more of a, as soon as he hit it, you knew it was gone. Because when you're dealing in baseball, everything when it's cold like it was the last two nights, it's not necessarily a hitter's advantage, but that ball is so tight because it's so cold that it's like it literally is like hitting a cue ball in pool, right? So when that ball's tight, that baby launched out of here, and it was a no doubter. Everybody knew it. You saw the person on deck; they had their hand up. I think it was it Joe? Might have been Joe. I don't know who it was, but anyway, him going around. It was a great shot, and it was one of those swings where he wasn't swinging for a home run; he was just swinging hard. He saw a pitch he liked, and he drove it out of the park. So Popio, he's a stud.
We heard our softball player profile say the same thing. You hit home runs when you don't try to hit home runs, and
just try to hit it
perfect
hard.
example. Hit it hard.
That's the be all and end all. And I think most kids want to hit it hard. Did we pop up Siggy's thing?
Yes, I popped it up.
I popped it up. We didn't address it though, but yeah, he's just getting softball draw Sunday at 1 p.m. Bios are all were to be done last night too. You could still see, however, who beats who on Saturday when seeds are set at noon. But it's pretty much books are set with these teams getting the games in that they have in, and just let the chips fall where they may. I guess it's going to be difficult to seed these teams, and it might not necessarily be the right seeding, but you just got to play with what you're dealt, and let's see what happens.
At this stake, this juncture, do you think that teams are looking at the number beside them? Like if you're a one team playing a 15 seed, do you really trust that 15? I hate to be that guy, but it's like trusting a fart. You just never do it. You know what I mean? You just don't want to do that, because the second that you look down at your opponent from that standpoint, they're going to sneak up on you. And if you are a one seed, you've got to target both on your chest and your back, because the second you look away, you think that nobody's watching, and they see another opportunity, that bullseye, and they just line you up and get you. Fitch, we talk about Fitch a ton on this show. We talk about Canfield baseball a ton. All of our teams, if you ask any of their coaches, are you susceptible to a team beating you? They're all going to say yes. At this point, nobody has enough games to really know where they are or where their weaknesses are, because everybody at this point, we're really at the mid-season point that you're just figuring out what kind of team you have. And a lot of these teams, and we talked about it, when they go down south, whether it's to Tennessee, whether it's to Myrtle Beach or Florida, they have opportunities to see what they can be like. It's a small showcase of what it can be like. But when you play 5 games in a row, 5 days in a row, you get a little bit of, okay, this is who we are. This is who we're going to be. and we have to build our team around that. And again, you can run away from some of your weaknesses. You can try to hide them. If you've got a weak fielder, you can try to put them in one of the corner positions that don't necessarily get a whole lot of attention, whether it be left field or right field, depending on your spray chart. But you have to know that. And a lot of these teams this year, I'm telling you, if we have to do the $9.99 thing a day, it is going to be the best investment you can make, because anything is going to be possible. Imagine playing only a quarter or a third of a basketball season or a football season, and then they have to put out the charts, right? Put out the seedings. This is what we're facing in baseball and softball right now. I could not be more excited, but I'm also very optimistic that some of the good teams are going to shine through, but I'm very, very aware that in a one-game setting, Anthony, to your point, and I know you're going to win this round, the upsets are going to happen. It's going to happen somewhere. We don't know. But statistically, there's going to be a big upset somewhere.
What do you think with all the stoppage of play, especially for these smaller division schools? What do you think the biggest X factor going into the tournament is? Because we know the pitchers are going to have to stop and start. We're hearing like arm complaints, arms hurting, but then hitting is a game of consistency. You need to play game to game, and when you get games pulled out from under you, it's hard to stay consistent in that as well.
I think it's always going to come down to experience. I mean, I've said this before. I'll say it 100 times more. Experience is where it's always going to come down to. You look at that Canfield baseball team, people are saying, oh, well, you know, you jumped off the ship of Salem and you jumped off of South Range and now you're – no. They're an experienced baseball team. I bring the energy, and Ty and Anthony, we all bring energy wherever we go. And I understand that it looks in a certain direction, and it looks like we're giving a little bit of bias to those teams. But I will say this, if you don't watch Canfield baseball and get excited about the type of baseball that they are playing, then you're not getting excited about baseball. There is so much talent in the YSN network, and a lot of that comes from a Canfield, right? An Austintown Fitch for softball, a South Range for softball and baseball. It's hard not to get excited about these kids that are playing baseball and playing their sport and doing their craft at a very high level. So when I look at Canfield, they're not only fun on the field, but as you guys saw on the Power Hour just last week, they can be fun off the field too. And building character and stuff like that makes it more fun for us to be able to do, you know, and like your interviews with Steve Ward, they're phenomenal because he's just a joker. He's an excitable guy. At the end of the day, he wants to win. He wants to make sure that his kids have the best opportunities and are having fun or making memories. That is part of our job, is to help them make more memories and to capture those memories on and off the field. So
at the end of the day, we always say bring it back to the YSN family too. We root for whoever's left in the tournament too, under the family too, and we always hope they're bringing back some hardware to the YSN.
Dude,
family.
Listen, Ty, I'm calling your Falcons tonight, but I'm just as excited because Marlington, one of the best teams in the state. One of the best teams in the state. We have tried and thrown that hook out about 8 zillion times trying to bring in Marlington. I'm excited to do that call tonight, just not for us, but just not for me, but for us, for YSN, and to show Marlington fans this is what you can have. And probably with a good softball team like you have, a good baseball team, and just several good programs, this is probably something that you want to have to draw more attention to your kids so they can be part of the power rankings, so they can be on your show. They can be on our show. They can talk about their programs and the success and challenges that they face from their standpoint of being a Marlington Duke. And that's why it's so exciting to me to turn on your show at 12 o'clock, 12:15, 12:30, and see face after face after face after face. You're doing more than anybody has ever done in this valley. And that's why we're so proud of you to be killing it on a daily basis from 12 to 2. And then not only that, boys, because your job's not done there, you go out to the community that you're representing that night and you put on a good show for them. And you make people more aware of their programs, their talent, their communities, and their school districts. So you guys are doing yeoman's work, a phenomenal job. I just had to come and bust Anthony's chops because it's not always about softball and volleyball. Sometimes there are other sports that are challenging as well.
I included baseball in that conversation, DJ.
No, it should be a good call tonight, though, DJ. I'll be looking forward to listening to it, and hopefully maybe some inner ties will be worked, and we'll have Marlington under this YSN family, because we know the Dukes bring a lot in all kinds of sports.
I hope so, man. And again, in case this is your first time ever tuning in YSN, I hope you don't mind if I plug real quick. It's absolutely free for the schools. We actually pay the schools a kind of a royalty fee for allowing us to come and take a chair up. And if there are fans, which there's no proof that there's ever been of fans not going to the game and opting in for YSN, that's included in the fee as well. It costs you, listen, this is insane. It costs the school absolutely nothing. Zero zilch. I want to make this completely clear. We are doing this all based on revenue generated from our sponsors like Greenwood Chevrolet and like so many others here on YSN. It does not cost the school. We're not dipping into your general funds. We're not doing that. We're doing this because we love what we do and we think we're pretty good at it. So if you're out there and you've always been wondering, can we become a YSN school? How do we get involved with that? All it is, it's an easy message to our social media, or it's an email to info@ysnlive.com to get started. Talk to your athletic director, talk to your superintendent, whoever is at the top of the pecking order, talk to them, get them involved. We have plenty of love to give here under the banner of YSN. So that's how you get involved.
Anthony, sounds like you're giving some love to Tony Kugris and sweet talking him over there in the bowling community.
I haven't seen Tony in weeks. I don't know what he's talking about.
All I know is, guys, I heard a whole lot about these power rankings last week when Poland didn't make it this week and they put 2 straight wins together. Guess who got all those emails?
They're waiting.
Double B himself gave me a call yesterday just to let me know or make sure that we were understanding that Poland, was it Lakeview they swept?
Yeah.
Oh,
they
yeah.
locked them off, and then they beat them up in the game too.
Yep. So I appreciate the power ranking voters for that, because I'm hearing all kinds of to do about Poland this week.
I'm sure you got some Columbiana love too from last night and what they did to United in the softball.
I haven't heard a peep from Columbiana. God bless them.
God bless them.
There's going to be some discussions with that power rankings ahead of next week too.
As long as my Bulldogs don't end up in front of Champion again. That's my only request. Please don't ever do that to me again.
Oh, not naming names on that one. Oh, Chris Stiggy said he heard all about. He got the Columbiana faithful on him last night.
For all the times that Siggy gives me these radical ideas, he deserves to get a little piece of that, because he gets to sit in the CEO seat out in Columbiana in United, so he can take some of that brunt of some of these people that are pissed off. So good for you, Siggy. How's that taste?
Siggy, we appreciate you, brother. Did a great job last night, and that was a great game too. As we have a lot more games lined up in store for us too tonight, Ant, and it's going to be exciting to get to. Hopefully, now we can get a bunch of games in with this week.
Sun's out, guns out. Let's go.
Ant's ready. Ant is ready.
I don't think that's how it goes, Ant. I don't think you can wear a hooded sweatshirt and say
Sun's
out,
right?
guns out.
You have everything covered up. Oh, man.
All right, I'm out of here, boys. I just needed to make sure that it's a little easier to talk than it is to type sometimes. So I invading your show, but wanted to make sure Anthony understood.
It's always open door, you know that, DJ, too. You love when you drop in with some stuff like that, too.
See you, boys. Have a good rest of your show.
Thank you, sir. And we also have to talk to, we didn't get a chance yesterday to really dive into the big dogs that were released as well. I know they dropped on our socials, but we always like to give a little bit of love and due diligence to our big dogs too. But we know that dropped, and we didn't get a chance yesterday because it was a packed show, to say the least.
Day. We had a lot on yesterday. Let's go to a break, and then we'll come back. We'll talk about big dogs in the Valley. We'll talk about the games that are happening tonight, some big matchups, and we'll have a lot more fun on Running Point after this break. Brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
New things happen all day. Some are good, some not so good. In today's complicated world, while you're busy working, playing, and living life, we're busy helping you make sense of the day's news. And there's only one place where it comes together with clarity, context, and accountability. It's 21 News at 6 with me, Madison Tromler, and Derek Steyer.
21 News at 6. It's what the day's news really means to you.
Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring, and, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
At Greenwood Chevrolet, shop with confidence knowing we're ready to go the extra mile for you. With the largest selection of used vehicles in the Valley, backed by the Greenwood Advantage Warranty. Every one of our vehicles has undergone our own 126-point inspection, so it passes the most important inspection, yours. No other dealership has the extra inventory, gives you extra for your trade, and goes the extra mile for you. Only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
WRS Wealth Advisors, the area's premier wealth and retirement specialists. Located on South Avenue in Boardman.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the 4 words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
Welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Anthony Hartwig alongside Mr. Ty Bartell. And Ty, like you said before the break, we have a new batch of Baird Brothers Big Dog of the Valley. Last week, Torrey Firth from United took it away from the softball side, and Riley McElwain from Columbiana took it away from the baseball side. So we had an EOAC sweep. And this week we have 6 more members on both baseball and softball. DJ's saying that next week we're going to also have track and field on there too. So keep an eye on that. In weeks to come.
Maybe someone that's going to appear on that list is going to be on the show tomorrow. We'll have to preview that a little bit later for you guys too on that.
But we'll start off the list in no particular order with Zoe King from Howland being the first player on the Baird Brothers Big Dog of the Valley softball list. She got a shout out from Manny Hufford today in her interview. She had a walk-off over Nordonia on Sunday as part of Howland's Pink game. That was an extra innings too. So big time player making clutch plays. And when you make clutch plays, you tend to get yourself on Big Dogs of the Valley.
Yeah, I mean, just absolutely crushing it too. And I mean, when you hit a walk-off home run too against, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Ann, a pretty quality Nordonia team,
Yeah,
I would say.
I would think so, yeah.
I would say at that. So, I mean, Howland softball is doing big things too. They're getting a lot of recognition, and Zoe King is definitely yeah. I mean, just absolutely just dominating too. And I mean, put on a royal, I guess. Hit.
I like it.
So it was certainly fun. I want to bring up too, if I have, because I think they have her updated stats too. And I just wanted to bring up what she's doing on the season real quick. Just some numbers that she has on the year that were really impressive and really stood out. 485 batting average too, right there with that on base percentage is 486. But I mean, just getting on base a lot too is king. And when you bat 485 in a lineup, you're doing something right.
We talked about elevated averages in high school. That's up there close to 500.
Oh yeah, that's absolutely up there close to 500. I mean, that's doing big things for her team too. And no doubt it's going to be it's going to be fun to see when this team squares off with Fitch and has some more games inside the conference.
Yeah, and the next member of the Baird Brothers Big Dog of the Valley nominees is also an owner of a walk-off. The first game of the year, she walked off Hubbard with a 2-run home run. It is Mary Brandt of Poland getting the nod this week.
Yeah, and I mean, when you get walk-offs too, you get nods. But I mean, Mary Brandt just another one of those big hitters in that Bulldog lineup. And you heard Tony Kugris in the comments section too, and I'll pull it up again. He said, "Don't sleep on the Poland Lady Bulldogs, fellas," and I don't think we're going to be sleeping on them much more. They got some big conference wins in that dog fight, and Mary Brand is always a big contributing factor, whether it's with her bat or just in that dugout.
Like I would ever sleep on Poland. Come on.
He's wearing blue. He lives in blue. He's the Poland
I'm in
blue.
the blue dungeon.
Yeah,
the DJ lovingly calls
like
it.
Poland blue too.
We go on to someone that was a part of that matchup and actually still had pretty good games despite the 2 losses. Karley Imes from Lakeview, getting the nod, and we've had her on the show. What an incredible leader to that team. A great softball player that will be playing at the next level next season. And Karley Imes, one of the leaders of the Lakeview Bulldogs, who are still having a really impressive season.
Instead of calling them the 1-2 punch, I'm going to call the Pavlansky and Imes, I'm going to call them the bark and bite of the Poland lineup, because they both provide a lot of pop in the middle of that order, and Imes is a part of that too, just uncorking bombs all season long. I believe it was her that hit a big 3-run shot. I think it was in that game against South Range to tie the ball game up at 6 apiece too. So, I mean, clutch is in her genes too, and she's a part of the bark and bite squad.
This is why it's hard to figure out the sport, because Lakeview beat South Range beat Lakeview, Poland beat Lakeview, South Range beat Poland. It's fickle. It's a fickle sport.
Poland beat Hubbard.
Poland beat Hubbard. South Range beat Hubbard. And both those teams have another game left on their schedule. In fact, Poland is traveling to Hubbard tonight to make up their game at Hubbard, and South Range will still have to continue their game against Hubbard, where they're trailing 3-1.
That'll be interesting too to see the continuation of those two.
Remember how we talked about Salem baseball and we said after their tough start we can't sleep on them and we can't hit the pause button on Salem baseball. I think Lisbon softball is the same way. I mean, they had a tough start to the schedule. They were lost a couple of tough games to United. We know that, but McKenna Daly in that lineup is not to be slept on, and Lisbon's starting to put it together a little bit and find a groove, and she's a big reason why, and she is on this week's edition of Baird Brothers Big Dog of the Valley as the EOAC tries to make it 2 wins in a row.
Better look out, fans, too, because the Lisbon Blue Devils know how to bring it in the votes, too. Every time we have Lisbon players on, they get heck of support, too, and that community knows how to show up, no doubt. McKenna Daly, too, I believe is a 500 batter, if I'm not mistaken, right now, too, batting 500 on the season. So you talk about that number, too. That's a big number for her on the year. I mean, that's just another one. That's big dog numbers. What else can you say? When you're batting 500, that's a big dog number right there.
We go into leopard territory for the next nominee, and it is the impressive sophomore shortstop from Louisville, Kenzie Denzer. I said at the start of the season, I still say it. These are one of the players in the Ysn family that you just have to put at the top of the top of the list when you talk about best players in the Ysn family on these teams. Kenzie Denzer is just a special talent. She's a great shortstop. Always comes up with big hits. Had the walk-off home run against Ursuline last year. Hard to get out. Doesn't strike out a ton, and always puts the ball in play. At this level, when you put the ball in play, you raise your percentage of getting on base, so much more than you do in the next levels. Because as you know, in high school, errors are up a little bit. Errors and mental lapses in the high school level, they go up a little bit, just like averages, just like everything else. In high school baseball, softball, you never know who's playing in the infield. Errors go up too.
Yeah, no doubt. And I mean, what a great name too. That name just flows so well, doesn't it? Kenzie Denzer too. It's just like it's one of those teams too. And you talked about her great talent over there with the Leopards, no doubt. And they're a team you can't sleep on, no doubt.
Another player that we've had on the show already this season went 5 for 5 last night in Salem's win over Carrollton. Riley Troy, the senior, gets on the list today from Salem, and we know Salem likes to vote too.
Oh, absolutely. You better watch out then. Lisbon and the Quakers are going to be in this. This is going to get interesting to see who comes out on top too. Riley Troy, a part of this red hot Salem softball team too, that has figured everything out. They've put it all together after their trip to Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, too. We had Coach Thorpe on. He talked about the Bears story. You can find that on ysnlive.com as well as our YouTube page. Yeah, and I think that really brought this team together. And Riley Troy's one of those Quakes that are performing at a high level right now.
And Salem's on a win streak because of it, of the work that she does, not just in the circle, but at the plate as well. So we'll move on to the baseball nominees, and it is Lucas Cummings from Mohawk, who got the big day and the no-hitter on Monday. Yep, do it. Got the no-hitter on Monday, and when you throw a no-hitter, it's almost a guarantee that you will be on the list.
Yeah, you throw a no-no too, and we love to see it too. I think it's the first time we're gonna have the Keystone State represented in the big dog voting too. So they got the nod, the tip of the cap on the power rankings. They got in at the number 10 slot. We saw that on Monday, and they are right back in here on the big dog voting here as well too. No hitter thrown. Lucas Cummings getting represented.
Now we get to see how well that community votes over there in PA.
Oh, you got the whole state of Pennsylvania.
The whole state of Pennsylvania.
We're getting votes from like Philly, like all the way in like to the actual like east part of PA. They're all coming up.
The city of brotherly love for a reason, right?
Millions of votes coming from PA.
Next on the list, Brandon Popio, who hit that home run, Tuesday night?
Yeah, I believe so. Yep. And against a rival Boardman, and it was a big one. It was a 2-0 game that the Falcons ended up winning that one. And we said DJ Yoakley had the call on that too. We got a chance to hear from the man himself who got to witness it. And it was a shot, and it was a great call. You can find that on our social media pages as well. So go find that on YSN on Facebook, Twitter. It's in that realm as well. I believe it probably would be added to our YouTube. I think if it's not added there, it's definitely on our Facebook videos too. You could check it out there. But it was a shot. It was a heck of a shot.
You said it before. That Fitch baseball stadium is hard to hit a home run in.
It's big.
He launched one that we knew off the bat that it was gone.
Yeah, it's a big field. He has a great swing too, and he really got a hold of that one.
Next, we have from the Hubbard Eagles, Andrew Karley, California Dreamin'. It's the Eagles, and they're putting things together too. They have a lead on South Range in a game that needs to be continued, just like the softball team does.
That's interesting too. That Hubbard has 2 leads on South Range,
and they're both 2-run leads. I think the baseball's 2-0 and softball's 3-1.
And what's interesting too is that those are going to be probably some pretty big games when it all comes down to it as far as conference. Because if I'm not mistaken, I think the Hubbard Eagles have been on a pretty big tear as of late too. They've been getting some wins too, and Hubbard's always a good baseball program. That's no doubt. I believe a 10-win team right now. They were able to get 13 games in, one of those teams that has been able to get some games in, and they've been.
They too were a team that kind of started the season a little shaky, if I remember right. So we're seeing a lot of teams kind of bounce back from starts that they wanted to go different ways.
If I'm not mistaken, too, and Hubbard in action with South Range tonight, so that's going to be a big one too. So you'll be able to get to see this big dog candidate in action.
Anthony Fisher, throw a no-hitter, you get on the list, and he throws his no-hitter in his first career start in the high school level, coming off Tommy John surgery earlier in his career. He's been in the bullpen, but now he gets to start on Tuesday, and he goes, hey, let me just take that start and throw a no-no.
What a phenomenal story that was for Anthony Fisher, too. And we had him on yesterday, too, to talk about it. So if you missed that, it'll be up on our YouTube page, up on YSN.com.
Yep. You can find it on our YouTube. You can find it on the YSNlive.com with the article attached to it. It's a great interview. And they call him the Big Tuna on that team. So that's the headline of the title of the story, the Big Tuna.
I don't want to give away too much, but yeah, you're going to want to check that out, too. It was an interview.
Find it. You have to be able to find it.
So. Yeah, it's the Big Tuna, but no, you talk about a guy that an amazing comeback story, and you couldn't feel better for a guy like Anthony Fisher in his first start too. That's what movies are made of.
Hey, you couldn't write that. You couldn't write that script in Hollywood and make it more believable. Next, we have from Salem. It is Darius Beck from the Quakers, and they could sweep this week because they have the softball and baseball representatives on Baird Brothers' Big Dog of the Valley.
The thing with Salem baseball, too, they're just like what the softball team's doing. They figured it out. And we had Coach DeBar on last week, and you'll be able to find that going to be up on the YouTube and site as well. The thing with Coach DeBar and what he said, it was what we were kind of discussing, too, and it was a team that was looking for an identity. And a lot of these guys have stepped up. You've seen your guys like your pitchers like Wilms and Rhodes that have stepped up, but guys like Darius Beck have also stepped up as well for this Quakers team. They have their identity. The Quakers know who they are, and boy, oh boy, are they red hot right now.
Yeah, I love that you brought up the pitchers because everyone talks about Salem's pitching, and obviously, rightfully so, they have a great pitching staff with the names that you mentioned. Beck kind of goes under the radar. He's one of those guys that just does his job and doesn't get like all the praise in the world that some of the other guys on that team does. But I would say Coach DeBar would probably say this too. That pitching staff is not as good as it is without the battery mate of Beck behind the plate. And I've said it. I think DJ has agreed with me on this. Catchers are kind of like offensive linemen in the sense that they only get noticed when they're not doing their job right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it might be a compliment that Beck doesn't get noticed as much as he should, because if you're doing a really good job defensively behind the plate, you should kind of be under the radar.
Yeah, and I mean, we've seen that too, and we love to give love to our guys that are there behind the plate too. And we talked on the softball side, we talked with McKenna Hogan. You deemed her gravity too. That was gravity too. But I mean, these catchers have to put in work, and they are a huge factor in helping pitchers get things turned around. And a big reason why Salem's turned things around is the pitching staff. But you got to give credit to what Beck's been able to do, contributing to not only that, but also with his bat in that lineup as well.
No one can calm a pitcher down more than the catcher that he's throwing to. So, like, if anything happens, whether it be a walk, a hit by pitch, whatever it may be, even if he doesn't have to go to the mound, he just does one of these. Like, let's a calming force, and the relationships between pitchers and catchers, I think are so important. I don't think people talk about it enough, how important, you have to trust your catcher, even if he's not the one calling the pitches, even if your coach is calling the pitches from the dugout, he's the one that's helping those conversations. He's seeing the batter more than anyone, a better angle than anyone. I mean, he can see the swing a lot better than the coach can. I mean, a lot of coaches have actually said that on our show, that the catcher has the best angle. So, you got to be able to trust your catcher, and the trust and the bond between pitcher and catcher. The strong ones have it, and some of the pitchers that struggle, maybe they don't have the best relationship with their catcher. Who knows?
Yeah, but I mean, no doubt Beck is one of those guys that takes care of his pitching staff, and he's a huge factor for that Quakers team. And I believe that rounds out our.
No, one more. You can't leave out Gavin Trump.
Oh no, you can't leave out Gavin Trump too. I mean,
Warren JFK standout. He's last but not least, because I said once again these lists are in no particular order. So Gavin Trump gets on the list as Baird Brothers Big Dog of the Valley nominee, and we've talked about it. I mean, JFK returns almost everybody from last year. And he's one of those guys on the mound is lethal, but he does so much work at the plate as well. He's a very productive hitter. He has a great routine. I think his swing is pretty technically sound, if I do say so myself. And Gavin Trump, he can do a lot of things right for JFK.
I've seen JFK play a couple of times this season, and the thing with Gavin that you see, he's just a great leader. Even when he's not pitching, he'll come from that shortstop position, calm his guys down if maybe they're giving up some hits, and just correct things that he sees on the mound. And you're going to trust him. It's the guy that pitched in the state championship game and won it for you last year. Like, literally the guy that pitched in that game and won the D4 state championship. So
he can go up to his other pitchers and be like, guys, you know that saying, I wrote the book on this? Well, I literally wrote the book on this.
I mean, the guy that just goes about his business, and he's just calm, cool, and collected at all times. He operates almost. You call me a robot, but he operates like the dude operates like a robot.
I have never. Scotty always calls you a robot.
But no, I mean, does a fantastic job. And when I have seen Gavin Trump pitch, he's been phenomenal on the mound.
When he's not, good point. When he's not on the mound, he's at shortstop. And when you're a shortstop outside, I would say outside of the catcher who's leading the whole defense, you're probably the biggest leader on that defensive squad. It would probably go, in my opinion, catcher, shortstop, center fielder. Center fielder kind of leads the outfield, make sure everyone's in the right position. Shortstop kind of makes sure that everyone in the infield is where they need to be, and the catcher kind of oversees it all in the big picture kind of thing.
Oversees it all, primarily take care of the pitchers too.
Right.
So it's kind of
Yeah,
But
you know,
great
your
job.
shortstop has to be a good leader on that team. I don't see too many successful shortstops in the elite high school level and the college level or the professional level that aren't great leaders as well.
Give my man some love for his defensive play at shortstop, because I mean, we've been talking about bat, we've been talking about pitching. Man can play a hell of a defensive shortstop position too, and he locks things down too. Not many holes are taken up on that left side of the infield with Gavin Trump. He makes sure he logs
that's another thing about shortstops. They say that sometimes your best athlete is at short. So that's definitely true for JFK.
Yeah, they look to make another run, man. They're fun to watch, and like we said, when they play in their own division, look out. D4 teams, I don't know if anyone's ready for JFK right now.
I think the second half of their schedule has been loaded with, you know, those teams that they'll see in their districts or league games, and they've just been
taking care of business, man. They
taking care of business.
You're singing too good, and you're gonna get us copyrighted.
I know. There it goes. Boom, copyright. Boom.
Taking down X.
X right there. All right, we have just a little bit of time. Let's go over the games that are happening on the network tonight as we look. Our wonderful scheduler Quinn has a set, and according to him, there's just one game canceled on the baseball side and 2 games canceled on the softball side. We'll start with those. On baseball, Lisbon at Crestview has been postponed tonight. And on the softball side, Edgewood at Lakeview has been postponed. And so has Ravenna at United. That has been postponed. So we go through the games that are happening and the games that are on the network. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 baseball games and 5 softball games. And if you do the math, that is 11 total games on the network tonight. And we'll go with baseball first. Edgewood at Jefferson is going to start at 4:30. Pat Santor will be on the call there. Columbiana at Cardinal Mooney from Scene Park on Scene 1 at 5 o'clock. Alec Caberna and Joey Cebio sharing the mic. So that'll be a great tag team duo. 2 really good announcers calling the game there. 5 o'clock first pitch. Marlington at Austintown. Fitch DJ gave you a little bit of a preview. He'll be there in the Falcons' Nest for that one. 5 o'clock first pitch. Mohawk versus Champion on Scene 3, 5:30 first pitch. This one will be called by Eric Hughes. Niles at Lakeview baseball will be called by the Lakeview students, 5 o'clock first pitch. And then Ursuline at Howland on Scene 1 at 7 o'clock. Noah Ricks will take the mic for that one, and we love Noah Ricks. We've had him on the show a couple times. He's got a great broadcaster voice. If you have not tuned in to a Noah Ricks called game, you're missing out. So make sure to check the nightcap from Scene. From Ursuline and Howland. Some of the games that are happening around the area: Beaver Local versus East Liverpool in the Potter Country. That is a big rivalry, and it's sure to not disappoint tonight. By the way, congratulations to East Liverpool announcing that they are getting a turf football field. So we're excited to see progress on that.
Evan Tice interview is also up on ysnlive.com. If you
go check out Evan Tice before you check out the game tonight. 5 o'clock first pitch from Liberty as East comes to town. We have Camel traveling to Garfield. Struthers will be at Boardman. That'll be a kind of interesting baseball game. Struthers put up a heck of a fight against Niles. They just lost 1-0 and got no hit. But hey, when you're getting no hit and you still only lose by 1 run, that's a pretty impressive fight.
Boardman losing 2-0 to Fitch too. So both of these teams have a little bit of gripe and they want some offense to start rolling.
And last but not least, from the baseball side, we have Wellsville traveling to Cheney. That'll be on Koch Field 1 at 5 o'clock. We go to the softball side of things. Doubleheader in Springfield as Western Reserve comes to town. First game will be 4:45. They're going to play 2 5-inning games as a doubleheader. Western Reserve at Springfield. On the call for that will be Noah Doty for both of them. Austintown Fitch will try to complete the season sweep of Boardman as they travel to Spartan Country, and they play on the dirt field in Boardman. I'll be on the call there. That should be an exciting one to wrap up the season series. Champion goes to Garfield. Garfield coming off that win over Crestview, so this will be a big one. In the scope of the MVAC gray tier. Dom O'Brien will be on the call there. Ursuline traveling to Howland in kind of a on-the-fly game. Howland was originally scheduled to host Poland, but now they called up the Irish and said, hey, come on to town. And that will be Matt Mayer on the call there. Some other games happening around the area and on the YSN family. 4 o'clock first pitch in Mohawk as they welcome in New Brighton. Jackson Milton will travel to Waterloo. That should be a good one. Waterloo with that 13-3 win over McDonald last night. Columbiana traveling to Lisbon. That'll be a good one, right?
Yeah, jeez, oh man.
Remember, last year at Lisbon, Justice Vrabel, 4 home runs, 1 game, tied the OHSAA record in this matchup.
Bam, 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 bam. Another
one. Another one. We have Lowville traveling to Sebring at 5 o'clock. Matthews going to travel to West Branch, a big Division 4 powerhouse, trying to test the Warriors. I think this is one of the ones where Matthews is looking at this game to really get a measuring stick on where they are for the Division 4 tournament. Not a YSN school, but one that our YSN teams are really going to have to be wary of when they go into that district draw.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it's gonna be interesting too to see a measuring stick how these teams shape up against each other.
We've seen Matthews a couple of times against YSN teams. They played Poland tough, lost 3-0. So we'll see how Matthews can hold up against that star-studded lineup that the Warriors have down there in West Branch. We move on to South Range traveling to Jefferson. That is the second game of the series there. Earlier in the season, South Range beat Jefferson at home. And I believe that was actually their first NEA game of the year as well. Struthers will travel to East Palestine tonight, 5 o'clock first pitch. And last but not least, we will have Warren Harding traveling to Girard, 5 o'clock first pitch. So 11 games total on the network, a lot more happening around the area. So either get out and support your teams or head over to ysnlive.com/live and check out those matchups yourself for what games we have broadcasted live.
Yeah, as it's going to be a fun night on the network too. Catch the games that are going to be live too, as we're going to have a whole fresh plate of results for you to talk about tomorrow as we wind down the week here, as we start talking some tournaments that are going to be rapidly approaching in the softball and baseball realm.
Monday we'll have the seeds in the brackets for softball, because that tournament draw is Sunday. So look forward to that on Monday's episode of Running Point. Today at 3:45, we also have tennis on the network tonight. Salem traveling to Struthers, and Salem still rocking. They got the win over West Branch on Tuesday night, and Bob Zanny will have the call for Salem at Struthers in the tennis. Remember, we had Keith Parker on earlier in the season, and he has led this Salem tennis team that last year had no one that had played organized tennis before. As they opened up the Salem Quaker tennis team. And now this year they're on a tear, winning almost every game. I think they only have 1 loss on the season. So the turnaround from Salem tennis, mainly to do with head coach Keith Parker and the work that those guys have put in the winter, continues today. I should say guys and girl, because there is one girl on the team, the German exchange student. So that they'll be in action at Struthers tonight. That'll be on ysnlive.com. 3:45 is your start time.
Ahead of all those scores that we're going to be talking about that happen around the area tonight, we'll be talking about that on tomorrow's show. We also have 1 o'clock too confirmed for tomorrow. The Lowville track star Sophia Yon going to be joining us tomorrow to talk about not only breaking the 40-year-old county record in the 800, she's also has some school records in the 1600 that she's broken already of her own record this season too. So we'll be talking with her tomorrow too to get in some track and field talk. I believe our first track and field interview too of the season on Running Point, because we've had our man Donnie Riccatelli did a track roundtable that we had on the network too, but it's going to be our first time having a track interview on Running Point, and we look forward to it.
And last thing before we go, on this day in OHSAA history, champions Michael Turner had 6 hits in a game that tied the OHSAA record for hits in a game. That was back in 2015 on this day. So it's nice to see one of our YSN teams recognized in the OHSAA history books on this day. So that's a nice little tidbit to end the show. April 28th, 2015, champions Michael 6 hits against Youngstown East, and it tied for the most hits in a game in OHSAA baseball history.
It was a very good champion team, and that all culminated in a 2017 championship.
His sister Megan is currently a member of the YSU softball team as well. So, and she went to champion.
Runs in that blood. Runs in that blood.
So,
11 games on the network though tonight,
and lots to do on the network. And we're taking a 22-hour break. Casual Sports Podcast coming up next, And then the Power Hour will have you covered from 3 to 4. And then 11 games on the network tonight. Remember, go to ysnlive.com/live to see all the games that we'll have featured on for you tonight. Me and Ty, we're heading out. Have a wonderful evening. We'll see you tomorrow from 12 to 2.
Can't go to ysnlive.com/live. Use our QR code as well.
Ooh, good plug. Yeah, the QR